A very good evening to you, South African, those watching around the world. My name is Blaine Herman, and this is It's Topical, our digital audience with us tonight, among them our guests. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. I'm looking to their input in a short while. According to the World Population Review, South Africa is among the top 10 countries, top 10, with the highest rates of kidnapping in the world. The spate of kidnappings in South Africa. It's prompted the question whether these incidents are on the rise. Under the South African law, kidnapping consists of unlawfully or intentionally depriving a person of his or her freedom of movement, and or, if such a person is a child, the custodian of their control over the child, right? This should not be confused with abduction. I'll explain a little later on. Tonight, we will tell you where the potential hotspots are and what you need to be aware of in order to stay safe, which leads us to the question of the week. And we're asking you, considering that South Africa ranks among the top 10 countries in the world with the highest number of kidnappings, how can this problem be successfully addressed? As always, it's a simple question, complicated answers. Walk with me, let's get you some context. What are the causative factors in this regard? Considering that ranking, what sort of measures needs to be put in place in order to put paid to this? Let us know at It's Topical SABC Perspective coming up. All right, as always, let's get you some context. And for that, we turn to the magic wall. And let's just find out about kidnappings and that ranking I spoke to you about in terms of where South Africa ranks. You see, smack in the middle in terms of the top 10, right? And you see it around, I think, in a period of a few months. This year alone, there were about 4,000 kidnappings in South Africa. There you have it on your screen. Now, with regards to the different types and methods of kidnappings, I've explained the definition for you a little earlier on. What about abductions, right? And this is according to the South African police, and I'm quoting verbatim here with regards to what they have to say. And these are the common law offenses still applicable with regards to the South African legal system, right? Abduction is defined as unlawfully taking a minor out of the control of his or her custodian with the intention of enabling someone to marry or have sexual intercourse with that minor. And we know what the law says about consent regarding a minor. Let's tell you a bit more about human trafficking and the border management. And this is according to ISS Africa. They say it's an increase in terms of national and transnational syndicates, organized crime groups, including highly skilled people. I want to talk a bit more about this with my guest a little later on. Syndicates have extensive networks, and kidnappings is also rising across South Africa's borders. We have the South African Police Service represented here tonight. We're going to put that question to them in terms of how concerned they're there, and is this reflective of what's happening on the ground? Now, Police Minister Bheki Cele this afternoon gave a briefing on the preparedness of the South African police services to deal with crime over the festive season. Take a listen to what he had to say in relation to this slide of cross-border crimes, kidnapping, human trafficking, as well as the recent crackdowns.
On Wednesday, a multidisciplinary team from Kimberley intercepted a bus that was traveling from Pretoria to Cape Town with 14 undocumented children between the ages of 6 and 14 years. Police were alerted to this incident by a vigilant passenger who suspected the children were being trafficked. 2 Zimbabwean nationals were arrested and have already appeared before the Kimberley Magistrate Court on the charge of trafficking of persons. In Gauteng, 33 human trafficking victims who were found locked up in the room in Benoni were rescued in the past week. This took place when police were tracing a kidnapped foreign nationals. When the 33 men were discovered, one suspect has been arrested on this one.
Police Minister Bheki Cele there. Now, you'll remember earlier this month, according to the Border Management Authority's statement, border guards working with the members of the Home Affairs Counter-Corruption Unit and the South African Police Services stopped and searched 42 buses at the Beit Bridge and found 443 unaccompanied children. That's what they say. And as a result, the BMA denied those children entry into South Africa, saying they did not meet the necessary requirements for entering the country. So let's take a look at, when somebody is coming here to this country unaccompanied, what sort of requirements are there? What sort of documents do they need? Up on your screen now. And it says, it's according to the BMA statement as well, a copy of his or her birth certificate, I'll run through it very quickly, parental consent letters, copy of the passport or identity documents of the parents, legal guardians, contact details of the parents and legal guardians, the letter from the person who is to receive the child in the Republic containing his or her residential address and contact details in the Republic where the child will reside. Also, a copy of the identity document, valid passport, etc. And where applicable, and this becomes interesting, at the bottom here, a copy of a court order granting full parental responsibilities and rights of legal guardianship and in respect of a child. So it's not just basically having a few papers and you get through, right? You can see there's a whole list here that you need to follow in order to gain entry into this country. It's important to note, and we'll discuss that a bit further later on. So some tips to stay safe. And we will explore this with our guests in a short while as well. And it's some of these things are obvious, right? Don't be flashy with expensive items in public. Vary your routine or periodically change travel routes. Don't engage with strangers. You've been taught this from the time you're young, right? Be aware of your surroundings at all times. Secure your home with electric fences, etc. If threatened, attract attention. Some of the tips that you can use this festive season and going forward in order to stay safe. We're going to break these down further, give it more meat, give it more context in terms of what this all means regarding those statistics that I showed you earlier on. Stand by for that. All right, regular word on the street feature. We took to the various streets of Johannesburg. Obviously, as we always do every week, seek diverse insights and perspectives on this topic. And this is what people had to say. Take a look.
Looking at the numbers of the crime rates, with regards to kidnapping, and just looking at just from the year 2022-2023, it just shows that crime has risen. You can also just question how the state itself is ensuring in how we combat against crime.
If there's no consequence for kidnapping people, people will kidnap people and try and get ransom, and quite often succeed in getting ransom because they don't fear that the crime preventing authorities, the police and others, can prevent it or catch them.
It's really crazy, and I'm scared even as a South African to walk around the streets because you never know what's going to happen to you. It's really bad.
The only reason it's happening is because people who do it get away with it. It's a law enforcement issue. That's the reality. As long as nothing gets done about it, it's going to get worse.
It's supposed to be, thrown to the police department and also the military as well to just put in more effort in terms of working, because every time there's abductions and kidnapping, it's more like the cases are not being taken seriously. But it's something they can work on to say they find, more investigation and then also just some interrogations just to get to know what's happening.
All right, we really thank you for your thoughts on this matter. It helps us in terms of giving authorities an indication or sentiment on the ground, helps us to get to that better place that we always talk about. Let's get the discussion on the road, so to speak. Line up a number of guests, a number of experts. In studio, Lt Gen Shadrack Sibiya, SABC Deputy Commissioner for Crime Detection. Good to have you on the program as always. Thank you very much for making the time. We've got Mike Bolhuis, Specialist Investigator into Serious Violent, Economic and Cyber Crimes, joining us. Professor Oscar Magadze, from the University of South Africa Department of Criminology and Security Services. And Dr. Shahida Umar is a psychologist and director at the Teddy Bear Foundation. We also have a digital audience as well. They're going to be throwing some questions to our guests. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Lieutenant General, to you first. And this is the sentiment I keep on hearing. And this somebody, asked me, what topic are you discussing? I said, kidnappings. Okay. We always, and who's on the show? We said we have the police coming on. Always we hear about statistics. I showed you the statistics, 4,000 in the space of a few months. But what is being done? That's the question people have. Your answer to that.
Well, good evening to the listeners and the viewers at home. What I can say is that a lot has been done. Of course, kidnapping for ransom, it is a diverse and evolving phenomenon to an extent that we actually connect international, both international and local. And seeing that we do have this problem at hand, what happened then is that we put a multidisciplinary structure in place that consists of various experts within the South African Police Service to look into this aspect and to make sure that the perpetrators of this phenomenon are actually put behind bars.
When was that put in place?
Since 2018, and we keep on improving as we go along.
So since 2018, yes. But with 2022, 2023, if I'm not mistaken, if you can put up that slide that shows the numbers, we had about 15,000. Would you say that criticism that this is not working adequately is fair?
No. I wouldn't say it's not working. You need to look into this thing in three different ways. The first one, you've got your simple, ordinary kidnapping where people would rob a person, get a person in a corner and force a person to transfer money into their account. Right. Those, you get a lot of them. But you also have where it's a high network type of a person where it's a serious businessman. But you also have where foreigners like your Bangladeshi or Pakistanis who come into the country, kidnap each other for ransom, and then those are the type of cases that takes our statistics high. But the ones that you are talking about is only 4%. And when you even look at the arrest, we do arrest, in most of them we arrest. Just to give you an example, look at the recent one, the 33 one that were rescued. Yeah. There is a person arrested. A number of them have been arrested. Since May, we've arrested over 65 people. So it's not like they're just going on and on and on and there's no response.
How many people have you arrested since May?
Since May, I think we've arrested more than 65 people.
Yes. Regarding which type of kidnapping?
Kidnapping, the ones that we're talking about, the one that where the high value network type of kidnapping, where they would kidnap a rich person, be it an Indian or a Jewish, or those that they know that these ones have got money, business people, they would kidnap them and make sure that they force them to transfer money in bitcoins. And this type of, it is international in nature, because what happens is that they do it here, but you transfer money in bitcoin that gets sent to Dubai and then find its way back into their country. So it is an international type of crime.
Mike Bolhuis, the reality on the ground as you know it, in terms of how effective police are in curbing such crimes, what's your take? If you can unmute, Mike. There we go.
Thank you. The few policemen that is doing the work is good at it. The problem is there's not enough. Serious violent crime in South Africa is of the highest in the world, and therefore needs constant monitoring by highly specialized, highly trained, highly effective professional policemen that can really protect and serve. So the problem is that there's only a small unit countrywide that deals with the issue, and there is not enough policemen on the ground that can prevent it, identify it, evaluate it, do a proper risk analysis, proper investigation, and then crime prevention. It's not in place, and therefore kidnapping is an escalating crime, highly lucrative crime, and a highly committed crime. And it will carry on as such until there is enough as I've said, fully qualified policemen to do the job and to stop it.
Talk to us, Mike, about some of the cases that you've been handling. Is there any new modus operandi that kidnappers are following?
My biggest concern presently is that the human body has become merchandise. So in other words, the kidnappers of today will not only take you from, say, for instance, let's take the mid-level kidnapping, take you from a mall, you and your family, and empty out all your accounts. They will take your car as well, and they might take the children and traffic them. So it's all the more going to a situation where children and people are literally stolen into the whole domain of being sex trafficked or become taken into slavery, or even, if necessary, if it's an order for body parts. So the whole area of kidnapping and all its levels has gone to a supreme level that we've not seen before, like we've seen recently with bus loads of kids and houses full of children or people that's been identified. People are now seen as merchandise, and their value has now been identified by the criminals, and therefore they are coming after humans.
Lieutenant General, just to pick up on Mike's point, I won't push you too much in terms of what happened at the Beitbridge border, because I understand that's Border Management Authority's domain, and we actually reached out to them. Hopefully we can get some answers as well. But in terms of sex trafficking in South Africa, from your knowledge, how prevalent is it?
It is indeed a problem. It is one of the problems that we are struggling with as the South African Police Service. And we also have units that are specializing in that type of crimes that are attending to that. But it is prevalent.
Professor Magadze, the causes of kidnapping, is it more complex than we think?
Good evening, and good evening to your viewers as well. Yes, this concept is very, very complex in such a way that it requires many stakeholders to be involved in dealing with this type of criminal activities. So, the causes itself, there are so many factors. That's why, but the lifestyle also play a major role in terms of kidnapping. You see some other people, they expose themselves to social medias. They post so many issues, that so many items that they have, and then they invite criminals. But it's one of the factors, it's one of the causes as well. But you can see with the way it's rising, it tells you that the market is whenever you see crime rate goes up, it tells you that they have so many customers on the market, like what Mike just indicated about the issue of body parts. So meaning, it's in the African tradition where we mostly believe in this body parts to perform our businesses and all other things. But nonetheless, yes, we do have so many factors beside that, and the volume of foreigners that are looking into our countries, which raise the issue of our border gates and the control measures. So you just indicated that we had a serious issue in Musina or border gate. So there are so many factors that we need to check when we deal with these issues.
Dr. Umar, I would think that this is one of the most traumatic psychological as well as physical experiences one will go through. I just can imagine what a child must be going through. Put us in the minds of those who have been victims of kidnapping. What sort of mental strain do they go through?
Well, I think firstly, the greatest emotion that it's immediate shock, it's denial, it's excessive fear, the unpredictability of their future. Of course, it's survival. The living instinct kicks in, but we need to look at breaking it down into thoughts. So the intrusive thoughts that often victims of kidnapping continue to live with long after is the fear of it happening again, the hypervigilance that one sees, these startled responses, the paranoia, the trust issues recurrent nightmares, experiencing flashbacks. So reliving that trauma ongoing, the helplessness, the hopelessness, looking at some of the emotions where they either numb themselves, suppress or try and dissociate themselves from the actual traumatic experience, which is another symptom that one needs to look out for. But also we find that there's impaired memory, the attention span would certainly be affected. And I think also sometimes you would find guilt feelings where if the one or two people have survived and somebody else has been hurt in the process or injured, that's another, concern and that they have to deal with. But also looking at the interactions, engagement with other people, you would find that it's difficult to engage, the isolation, the withdrawal, and not being able to engage or enjoy or participate in activities that they've previously enjoyed. So these are some of the manifestations of children who have gone through this ordeal. And of course, each child is going to respond differently in terms of therapeutic interventions and support. Some children may have triggers in the future and may continue to require ongoing counseling and support. Other children may respond more favorably and may not require that intensive level of support. But it's again something that needs to be addressed consistently and ongoing.
Lieutenant General, is it a case that we are seeing a rise or more kidnappings being reported, or actual more kidnappings, or are we seeing more kidnappings being reported? I want to differentiate the difference in terms of what's actually at the heart of these statistics.
Look, the challenge that we are sitting with at the South African Police Service is that the moment it happens, some of the victims, relatives, they rush to pay the ransom. And when they get told by the perpetrators that don't involve the police, otherwise this is what we're going to do, the victims' relatives, they rush. Even when the moment this information reaches the police, already the family, some of the families has already done their drop-offs. Now, it makes it a little bit difficult for the police, even though we, at a later stage, we might want to run after tracing these perpetrators, but the bottom line is we need all hands on deck. We need to work together with the families of the victim, because they will tell you, strictly speaking, they will tell you that you don't involve the police. Should you involve the police, this is what will happen. At that point in time, the police know nothing about the crime committed. At the point when it gets reported, already it is when, or at the point where the victim has been dropped off.
So what should parents do if they're in that situation? Because I assume, if my child is kidnapped, I'll be so paralyzed with fear that I'll just do anything what the kidnappers are asking me to do. But you're saying, that's not the way to go. What's the proper steps to follow?
It is exactly the same problem. Exactly what you are saying is a problem that the police are sitting with. Because the moment it happens, and remember, this is a crime shifting or shifted. For an example, when we focus on the type, let's say on the CIT, the cash in transit, and the moment they feel the pressure that side, they look for softer targets. And for softer target, you find that it is not in all instances where you are able to kidnap the father. The next thing, what you can do is to focus on the child, where they least expected. And you know that once they have your child, then you are paralyzed. You just have to comply. Now, we just need to make sure that we also have our precautions, in the row, in such a way that the moment it happens, be able to inform the police, be able to inform everybody, because we do have all the different type of expertise. We have the hostage negotiators in place. We have experts that specializes in that field, to an extent that they know what to do. Immediately when it happens, they know where to go.
Mike, in your line of work, are you coming across a lot of families that are too fearful to go to authorities and report it and rather go through another route?
Yes, unfortunately, the belief and the trust in the police I know the general very well. He's a good general, but he knows this as well, and it has been said many a times before. But the public has unfortunately lost its trust and belief into the authorities. We're trying to work with the public when we get cases to retrust them, give them a chance, and we identify in the police those who really wants to protect and serve and make sure that they are involved. It's very important that all kidnappings is given to the police for statistics reasons, and obviously to work together as private investigators and the police and the public together in order to curb this crime and to stop it.
Yeah.
So we find that many of these cases aren't reported. It's like you have said, let's ask everybody listening, would you, if your family member is in a gang's hands, if they tell you, do not contact the police, do not contact us, do not contact any authority, or we will kill this person. We know in this country, a life means nothing to these gangs, and they will kill that person. What would you do? And they are clever nowadays. They know what you can afford. And if you can afford 50,000, that's what they want. And that's why this crime pays.
Yeah.
And they do this because they can get away with it.
Right. So I'm going to go to the digital audience in a short while. Sanchan, stand by. I'll come to you first. But Dr. Umar, just picking up from what Mike said, and you know, just put us in the mind of a parent that is going through this trauma. How does one stay calm and do the so-called right thing? How does one comprehend?
Well, I think in the parent's mind, just putting oneself in the shoes of a parent and having actually worked with parents in such a situation, a life-threatening situation, it's all about how to protect their child, how to rescue and save their child, regardless of anything. And I think money is not something that they're going to actually focus on. You know, they're going to look at any opportunity to provide that ransom, to actually meet that ransom, because they want to save and secure the life of their child. So on the foreground, on their radar, the parents' radar, it's all about their child's life, the continued living of their child and rescuing their child. And they're going to find any means. We've seen that. And I just want to reiterate to the viewers out there, it's not only wealthy families that are affected by the scourge. We know that your low organized syndicates or crime syndicates target families and then the ransom will be relevant to the economy or financial circumstances of the family. And we know that families will find means, beg, borrow, or steal, literally do that to.
Oh, Dr. Umar, did we lose you? All right, we'll try to get Dr. Umar back. Important point there. You know, it's not only wealthy families that are affected by such crimes. Please get us Dr. Umar back. Control. I need to just put a few more questions to her. Sanchan, let's get your take on this matter. Do you feel safe? Do you feel, Sanchan, if you can unmute?
Thank you very much. I think for me, from an academic perspective, this whole phenomenon is described by what we regard as a rational choice theory, where a perpetrator, because of self-interest, which in this case are interlinked with economic issues, because other things that we need to look at the pattern of this kidnapping and when exactly do they take place? So they usually take place during the festive season, where there's a high need for money, because it's festive season, people want to spend, and so the rational choice theory then explains the issues of self-interest and vulnerability and the invisible hand that is there. But because currently SAPS has not been able to adequately have efficient strategies to be able to negotiate or investigate this type of syndicate crime that is taking place in the country, it has then made the perpetrators to think that they can get away with it. And because of the vulnerability of families, because a parent cannot just allow their child to go for days while they can maybe afford to pay that 50,000 that they needed. So the rational choice theory then explains the entire phenomenon of kidnapping and the patterns that it has in the South African context. And because the majority of people in South Africa live in poverty, then they have no choice. I think the lieutenant did touch on issues of cash, money in transit crimes that have taken place, because now that they see that the SAPS is large is having more work being done to prevent those, then they're now devising other strategies to how they can make money during festive season.
All right, Sunshine, thank you. Let's take Liso, then Nolo, and then we'll take a quick break. Liso, to you first.
Thank you, Blaine. Throughout the discussions that have been happening ever since we started, I heard Lieutenant General mostly speaking and discussing about the prosecution that they have conducted and that they have arrested so many syndicates out of this crime. But my question, Blaine, still stands that men, women, and children, they are all still affected about this crime. They are still victims of this crime. And then my question, it still goes back to kidnapping is performed by syndicates. The question still stands, is SAPS capable of dealing with these syndicates? Are resources enough to investigate these crimes? Are our police officials, going back to Hawks and other investigation units, are they educated enough of the models such as prosecution-led model, crime intelligence-led model? Are they aware and they know what is required of them to conduct this investigation?
Right.
It still goes back to what is being done to prevent kidnapping from happening.
So let me direct that straight to Lieutenant General before I go to Nolu. I guess the public wants confidence in the police. They want to believe that you have a grip or purchase on the situation. Do you have enough capacity in order to deal with such crime?
To start with, when we talk about the specialized teams that we have on board, we've got the detectives, the hostage negotiators, crime intelligence, cybercrime intelligence collection, specialized tactical operations, special task force. We work with the banks, the private bank, the security industry, the banking role players. For an example, now as we speak, they no longer, because if you go dump the ransom money, they know you're going to be arrested. Now they want a cashless type of transaction. Now, which means we have to now work with the bank and other relevant role players to be able to deal with this type of crime. And it is very much also important to know that they are also watching. Whatever that I say, whatever that we say, whatever that we discuss, they're also listening to how and what. So I understand where Luso is coming from, but please also accept from the side of the police that coming here and giving it all out there, trains them more, educate them more on how to then work around these issues. So whatever that I say, I might have to just speak, but speak less.
No, I fully understand that. I mean, you don't want to give away the strategy. That'll be unacceptable. Nolu, are you confident or are you satisfied with the answer from the Lieutenant General?
Thank you so much. So I will also start by liking what was said by Dr. Omar, that this issue of kidnapping doesn't only affect only those who are wealthy. But as we've seen in statistics, that in case of any also affects areas such as Mlazi, Ntluzuma, Parental. So this is a societal issue now. So on the point of having enough fully qualified police, yes, year in, year out, every year we do have police who are enrolled in academies. But are they trained on these issues? Are they trained adequately on these issues and how they can counteract issues such as kidnappings?
Right. No, thank you very much indeed. We need to take a quick break, but when we come back, I need to talk about the hotspots. Where do parents look out for, especially this festive season? I'll delve more into the skills factor as well. What is needed in order to combat such crimes? More next. Welcome back. You're watching It's Topical. The question we're asking you tonight is, given that South Africa is ranked about top 10 in the top 10 countries in the world regarding the highest number of kidnappings, how do you think this problem can be successfully addressed? We lined up a number of guests tonight trying to get you answers, trying to get to the bottom of this. Lt Gen Shadrack Sibiya is my guest among them. So we were talking off air with regards to the hotspots in South Africa, and you said it's hard to pinpoint. But what is Intel telling us? Where should people be aware that, if I go there, might be problematic?
Well, it happens a lot in Gauteng, Cape Town, KZN, Eastern Cape. But remember that you cannot only decide based on the fact that, let's say, for instance, in Cape Town or Durban or Gauteng, they will also target a specific business person,
right,
who they know that this one definitely is able to, can give this amount of money.
Right.
So this is how they operate. So to say, they operate in the following provinces is really not possible.
Professor Magadze, is that what your research is picking up in terms of trends over the past couple of years here in South Africa? What more are we learning?
In terms of trends, it shows that it's going up. The crime is going up itself, and the issue that is a bit disturbing is you struggle to hear the speaker who's coming from the department itself, from the SABC, indicating what measures are they having in place in order to address these issues. But he's talking about other aspects. I was expecting to hear a victim-centered approach on how victims are being engaged in all investigation activities in order to cut down or to reduce these incidents of kidnapping or trafficking, because we really need to beside the statistics really, when you give your background, you indicated that the numbers are going high, so which tells you that there's an urgent need for measures in order to address that. But it's very difficult in terms of the findings of researchers to address social issues if you're not engaging communities that are being victimized by these criminals. And that's why I'm raising the issue of victim-centered approach and the issue of public awareness. Community, they need to know what really is happening, because some, they don't even know. They cannot even define what is human trafficking, what is kidnapping, but they have lost so many relatives. So there's a gap between our government entities with the communities. I think it's about time that communities, they need to be alert on even the symptoms or signals that comes before the crime take place. So it's really needed, so that they're able to see or to control their behavior or even to manage their kids as well.
Mike, I get what the Lieutenant General is saying, is that you don't want to give away all your strategy in terms of how you're combating this, because you don't want to further educate the criminal. But how do you weigh up or balance the need for putting out their confidence from the public's point of view in order to say that, okay, we trust the police in sorting out this crime? How would you go about it?
Well, first of all, I disagree with the general. I believe the police should be known for who they are and who they really are. You cannot use people as bait. The public, everybody, the criminals, yes, they're watching us, but they should fear and respect us. So it's high time that the police shows their teeth and their bite and stand out for what they can do and cannot do. Unfortunately, this is a fact. Up to 80% of the police is corrupt. And corruption does not mean selling a docket. It means when you cannot protect and serve. Now, let me shock you. Of late, General, we have received so many cases of policemen kidnapping people on their way to the station, saying to them, if you don't pay, we don't let you go. They, with the Metro, has made arrangements in this festive season that they take people and they will lock them up if they don't pay. In the very area that I am here, foreigners were picked up that came to and complained to me and said, listen, the police grabs us and take all our pocket money and stuff like that. So I believe in visibility. I believe the police should be absolutely respected and feared. It is not. I believe the police should be clearly showing that they have the best teams available. The task team, for instance, I'm extremely proud of. They're brilliant. The task force is fantastic.
Yeah.
But unless the whole public has that, the public will not trust the police.
Lieutenant General, how do you react to, from what Mike is saying, allegations that majority of police are corrupt, and to a point, to the extent that even police are involved in kidnappings? Your response?
Look, I wouldn't say the police are not involved. And
so you're admitting that you know of cases where police
last week, we are sometimes on the 24th of October 2023, we arrested 9 suspects, including a policeman. Now, I can't say the police are not involved. You do find such corrupt police officials. Right. But National Commissioner has also reiterated that there's no room for corrupt police officials. We've arrested many police officials that we're dealing with. Nobody is going to sit here and deny that there is corruption. But I don't think that the police are the drivers of kidnappings out there, and they are mostly involved in kidnapping. Yeah. Kidnapping is being addressed by the police, working with the private security company, including Mike Bolhuis himself. Right. He's part of our team himself. We work with him in the police. He assists, they are part of the security industry that we work with in addressing this type of crime.
So you would say there's an urgency, or fresh urgency, in order to weed out the bad apples within the police force?
We do arrest a lot of them, and we can give you the statistics. There are many police officials that get arrested for corruption, and they're being arrested by other police officials. DPCI, IPT, we arrest police on a daily basis.
Right. All right. I want to go to an insert now that talks to the broader discussions what we're having. Police Minister Behicele has ordered the police to find and arrest the killer of Bloemfontein teenager Machaga Khadebe. Cele also called on police to swiftly act on reports and complaints of abuse of women as soon as they are brought forward. Most speakers have lashed out against violent crimes against women. Take a look.
A somber moment for the Khadebe's family. Family, friends, learners, and the community bade farewell to Machaga. She was kidnapped last week Saturday at her home. Her body was found in the wee hours of Monday by a passerby. The Brebner High School family is in pain. 2 days after the teenager's disappearance, a mother's worst nightmare became real. During the funeral service, Silwane Khadebe said her daughter saw herself as a cardiologist.
My daughter's death is going to change something in South Africa. My daughter loved to talk about soft life. My child will live the soft life in heaven, where there are no deaths, where there are no rapes, where there is no pain. She should trend in heaven, not in the world. However, I ask of God, I ask of all of you to pray with me. You see the person who called me and told me he's going to kill my daughter. I give him to God.
Her brother says although her death has been sad and untimely, he hopes it will bring changes to the status of GBV in the country. Lebohang Khadebe was the last one to see Machaga alive. They were sleeping at home in Rocklands, and when he went to check on her, Machaga was missing.
This is not our goodbyes. This is simply till we meet again. Your memory will not be lost. Your memory will be remembered throughout. This is a very sad thing to happen.
The police minister says it is their duty to serve victims of crime.
Members of the South African police, when a woman comes to the police station to report, stop everything and attend to that woman.
Cele says men should lead the fight against gender-based violence. Bonolo Lekgafola, SABC News, Bloemfontein.
Let's go to one of our guests, Dr. Umar. When you see that insert, the pain is palpable, isn't it? And I would assume the body's response to anxiety and stress differs in terms of age as well. 'Tis the season to be jolly, they say, but it's hard when you see that. How do parents, deal with this? Going to various public spaces, worrying about their children, worrying about their safety. How do you process this?
It's very difficult to process. How do you take away something that is so real, something that is happening on a daily basis? It's not isolated or random incidences that we are faced with, but this seems to be the picture and landscape within the South African context. So living with paranoia, living in constant fear for the safety, protection, and well-being of one's child is something that one has to deal with. And if, I think you raised some pertinent questions earlier on in terms of accountability, in terms of transparency, the responsibilities. This requires an intersectoral effort, so coordinated collaboration, integrated approach to the protection and well-being of society as a whole. And where do we actually begin? We have to begin with our little children, speaking to them about protective measures. We need to speak to the parents, to the schools, to community-based platforms, your faith-based organizations, each and every platform, whether it's the taxi ranks, whether it's a recreational facility. We need to start alerting communities out there about the safety and well-being of children and how to be alerted and what are the danger signs to look out for, the warning signs, in order to prevent this kind of violation that is being inflicted and afflicted on children and families.
Yeah. Liso, are you satisfied with the answer of the measures being put in place in order to curb such crime?
Blaine, I'm not satisfied. Remember that kidnapping leading to human trafficking is not a new phenomenon in South Africa. It's not a new phenomenon to our communities. The statistics that has been revealed, numbers, they don't lie. The fact remains that the criminal justice system, together with other investigating units and preventative units, they are not doing enough. There is no enough resources to deal with this crime. So, for me, the numbers don't lie. The numbers don't lie. So, most of the other factors that they can be looked at, are there any awareness campaigns regarding kidnapping? Because now what is happening? Most effort and most attention is based on gender-based violence, whereas they are still victims of kidnapping and human trafficking. So most of the role players need to be investigated. Most of the role players, they need to come together and fight against this crime.
Right, Lisa, thank you. Sunshine, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Thank you. For me, I don't think we can be able to prevent if we've not, as a society, realized the causal factors. For me, having campaigns, awareness campaign, it's like I'm preventing something that is going to occur. Why are we not dealing with those that are perpetrating those forms of crimes? Why are we not dealing with the social issues that are causing those particular crimes? Why are we not even dealing with the psychological issues? Because for me, it's a psychological disorder for one to commit a gruesome crime like the video that we've just seen on playing now. So as a society, we need to deal with the psychological factors and the societal factors. Awareness campaigns have been done. SAPS has put gender-based violence, victim-friendly rooms in every SAPS police stations. measures are being put in place, but let's deal with the causal factors of the high levels of crime in South Africa that we're dealing with. Because today we're going to deal with kidnapping and hijacking, but what are the other forms of crime that are we going to have to deal with if we don't deal with the societal causal factors that are causing these particular crimes, including the psychological issues?
You got to go to the root, right? Not only address or tackle the symptoms. Lieutenant General, you've heard what Dr. Umar as well as Lisa has said in terms of campaigns. You hate to take away the innocence of a child just enjoying the space that they're in. But it seems you have to in terms of letting them know about the dangers that they face at a very young age. So you put paid to whatever sort of risks that they face. What sort of measures from the South African police point of view is being implemented at schools, places of worship, etc.?
We do have such programs in place. We do have Imbisos. We speak to school children, and we also have victim support centers where we address this type of crimes, where we address victims. And we have also officials that we have trained that deals with this type of crimes, that speaks to women and children when this type of challenges are being experienced. We do have these resources in place that addresses this specific.
Right. Just before we close, I just wanted to get a sense of what we're dealing with here in South Africa. If you compare the so-called professional syndicates as compared to the so-called copycat gangs, what are we dealing with? Are there a lot of professional syndicates in terms of kidnapping that are present here in South Africa?
No. I wouldn't say there's a lot of them. When we talk about the real syndicates, they are known, we know them. We know the small groupings that are operating. The ones that are actually causing more of a problem is the masses that we're talking about, where they commit robberies and then force you to deposit money, to transfer all your monies and to increase the limit and transfer all the monies. But those that we are dealing with, we are addressing them. It's just that it may take quite some time, we do accept, because it is international in nature. And once you include areas or places like other countries like Dubai, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, it becomes a tedious type of exercise that takes quite some time.
Lieutenant General, we thank you very much indeed for coming and addressing some of these issues. No doubt we can't solve this issue in an hour, but we will touch base with you going forward in terms of any developments regarding this type of crime. Thank you very much indeed. My digital audience and my other guests as well, Dr. Umar, Mike Bolhuis, as well as Professor Magadze, and the digital audience, once again, thank you very much indeed. Value added, no doubt. All right, before we go, here's my take. Our precious angels on earth, our children. Our aim as parents is to guide and protect them from all harm and danger. Often, those are the words that feature in our daily prayers. It doesn't mind. Parents are urged to be vigilant this festive season, research potential hotspots. But the question that law enforcement agencies need to ask is, how do we put the fear into would-be kidnappers? How do we make them or make sure that they fear getting caught? The high profit with low risk equation needs to be flipped on its head. Low to no profit with high risk. There might be different scenarios, but what is the nucleus of fact that is familiar? And what can be learned from that in order to put paid to this type of crime? Let's talk, let's debate, and let's action with urgency the best idea that emerges, which gets us to that better place as a country. And that's my take. If you miss anything, be sure to watch this episode of It's Topical on YouTube. Sports Live up next. If you're watching a repeat of this program, then as always, the news continues. Until next week, my brothers and sisters, take care. Bye-bye.